Okay, so if you want to make a slab weaving loom, this is how it works. I like to have some texture in mind, so I always get one of these lovely texture plates to keep at the ready. You're going to get a slab of clay. If we haven't done anything with it, you won't have to work it out. You can just put it down with your rolling pin, and we're going to roll it to about pencil thickness. Now, if you have trouble gauging what pencil thickness is, you can grab two pencils and you can put them on either side. For example, you could put your pencil here and here. Give it some buffer room for the clay to expand a little bit. But when the rolling pin hits those pencils, it'll stop and it won't get any more shallow. You'll notice when I'm using my rolling pin, first things first, I am standing. You cannot sit and use a rolling pin effectively. You don't get enough pressure to move the clay. I also don't use the handles like this because sometimes it gets a little out of control and it starts causing these ridges. I like to push down straight on the roller and roll it with my hands, almost like when we do coils for coiling pots. Now, I've been rolling it this direction for a little while. I'm going to move my pencils, carefully peel it off my table, flip it over and put it back down. I can put those pencils out there again to help me gauge how thick this should be once I roll it out. If you start getting too much clay, and by that it won't fit into our clay box, is it the right size that's over near the drying rack for clay, then you can go ahead and you can cut this. I can tell already this is going to be much bigger than my will it fit box. So I can take my pointy tool and I can very gently cut it down the middle, take the piece off I'm not going to need, and I can put this back in the clay box. Or maybe I give it to one of my friends because they have a similar idea or something that they can use the slab for. I'm going to do pencil check. We're almost there. A little bit more. There we go. And when I do these frames for the weaving, I like to have an organic shape in here. Organic means it doesn't have any really straight lines or pointy corners. I kind of just go through like this. And you'll notice the tool is at a bit of an angle. It's not straight up and down. So if I do that, then I can peel away the extra clay. Again, this isn't something we're going to throw away. We can put this back in the bin and somebody else can work with it either for coiling or they can move it back into a slab or a pinch pot. Now, I have to have a frame inside of here to do my loom. So I can pick anywhere and kind of put any shape I want in there. I want to be careful to leave at least a finger width along my edges so that my frame stays nice and sturdy. I carefully peel that up. Some of those edges are a little skinnier. Again, not scrap clay, it's something somebody else can use, so I'll put it back in the work bin before it gets dry. I'm going to smooth out my edge. It got a little bumpy over there. And now I said I liked a pattern on here or a texture, so I can use this sheet, place it down on there, and gently but firmly I'm going to push flat with the palms of my hands to put that impression in my clay. I don't want to make my clay any flatter than it already is, so I'm being careful not to push too hard. And when I lift it up, you can see that really neat patterns in there. Now, if I'm going to be weaving, I have to have some circles in here, some little points to put my thread in. So I'm going to use my pointy tool, stick it in, and make a nice hole. Now, I can gauge how big those holes need to be. If you have trouble with that, a better idea for your holes would be to use a pencil because they're thicker. You're going to put them in and it's almost like you're drawing a tiny circle in there to make sure that these holes are big enough. This is why we had to be careful to leave enough gap on the edges over here that you could put a hole in. You're going to go all the way around as you do this. And just like we've talked about in weaving in prior years or prior little projects that we've done, these we need to make sure stay in an odd number because we need an odd number to be able to weave in and out in a circle when we're finished. So I'm going to start counting to adjust. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. That's an even number. 19's odd. 20's even, 21 is odd. So now I know I have an odd number of circles. I'm going to check and make sure I can see the table down inside all those circles that are on there, right? That means they are big enough. Very carefully now, because this makes it very fragile, I'm going to pick this up, and I might even get a sheet of cardstock, a little bit thicker type of paper to slide under this as I pick it up so that my holes don't get too crazy. You could also potentially put the paper under it first and then make your holes. It might be a little easier for you, then you don't have to transfer to the paper. I'm gonna check my holes. I wanna make sure none of them closed up when I did that, right? I also wanna make sure none of them are too sharp because I don't want them to cut my yarn or ribbon when I start weaving later. So I'm just gonna gently press with my fingers to smooth those out. Now what am I missing on this? I didn't put my name on the back yet, so gently I turn it over. I use my carving tool and I put my name in there. You might also want to put your class code on there. So if you are Mrs. Zavala's class, you would say a Z-5 for 5th grade. After you get it like this, if this is all you're going to do for the decorating of it for the day, go ahead and put it in the clay closet on your day on your shelf for firing.